welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, so for today's video we're going to be talking all about community interest companies and grant funding. What is a grant? So grants essentially are awards of money that you get that you don't have to pay back. They're provided by organisations such as National Lottery, Children in Need, Postcode Lottery, local authorities. You can get contracts from, you can get grants from supermarkets. Like loads of places will have a grant system because number one, like little side note, if you have a business it can help you with a tax write-off. If you have like a charity or a fund or an organisation, it can help you write off taxes. So a lot of like big corporations, they won't necessarily go out there and be like shouting from the rooftops, oh my god, we've got a grant system, but when you do some digging you will find out that they've got a grant system. So I found KFC's got one, Waitrose, John Lewis, Warburton's. Like these are like companies that you wouldn't even think have them, but they do. So that is what a grant is. And basically every single grant that you look for, it will have some sort of criteria. So some of them will be working with young people, some of them will be working with disadvantaged people, some of them will be working with the BAME community, some of them will be tackling violence, some of them will be working with disabled people, elder people. So there's loads of different sort of, oh, how do I say it? There's loads of different sort of what is the word I'm looking for? Brain fog. Industries, I'm going to use that word, that can be funded. You just have to find, you know, what one's going to work for you. There are more broader ones. National Lottery is way more broader in the fact that it doesn't matter who you're trying to help as long as you're tackling a certain issue. So I just put in a grant for and got awarded. I just put in a grant and got awarded 20k from the National Lottery for the CSHEN project, and that's to run a couple workshops and mentoring. So I'll get a little bit more into my journey in another video, but I just want to like speak to you guys actually about what grants is, and it's one of the biggest ways to like pump money through your community interest company, especially when you're starting out and you don't have, you know, the budget or the momentum going to actually start things. So a grant would be good, and so that's where a grant would come in. Let's talk about why grants, and I do have stuff written down on my phone, so yeah, if you see me looking down, it's just because I'm trying to remind myself, because me, I like to waffle. So why grants matter for CICs. So like I said previously, the grant funding can, number one, help you kickstart your actual community interest company, start off with a project and get some money in that way. And number two, it could also, it's really good for publicity. So like the National Lottery, they sort of broadcast on their community page fund, on their community it's early, sorry guys, on their community fund page about the businesses that they work with, about the businesses that have been funding. You can go on the website and find out a list about all the businesses that have been funding and like what their projects are and stuff like that. I still need to check to see if they've updated it and put me on there yet. But yeah, so they can help you in the beginning stages, but they can also help you scale your business and be able to do bigger things. So I've worked for some charities that have got funded. At this point I didn't have a community interest company, so I didn't really know I knew they got funded, but I didn't really know like the ins and outs and the back and forth and whatever. But I used to work for a charity who was funded by Public Health England, or was it, I think we were funded by OHED and then Public Health England, but I didn't understand about all this funding and stuff. I just knew that I was employed and I was getting paid. That's all I knew, until I had my own community interest company and I've actually sort of properly understood the background and the funding and how long it takes, and it's not an easy process. And they got millions. I've only got a couple thousand, they've got millions. So their situation, when you go for the bigger funds, oh my gosh, it's like, yeah, there's a lot to do. Grants can be a game changer for CICs, providing vital funding to get your social enterprise off the ground or scale up existing programs. Yeah, grant funding can be used for a variety of purposes. So you can use it to pay staff, and you can use it to buy materials. Not a lot of funding like you to buy assets, so they would rather you hire it out, or obviously if it's cheaper to buy the asset, then I'm sure they'll be happy for that, but I think you'd have to prove to them that it's cheaper for me to just buy it outright than to you know, get secondhand or hire or whatever. When you do a grant fund, they all come with eligibility, and it's a document, or it will be like a page on the website, or like a document that you open, and it will go through the criteria. It will tell you what kind of things they fund, what kind of things they don't fund, what kind of things you can spend the money on, what kind of things they won't give you money for. And as long as your idea kind of falls in the perimeters of what they're looking for, what they want, and for the type of project that they want, you'll be absolutely fine. So let's talk about one of the hardest parts that I found, which is finding actual grant funding opportunities for CICs. So obviously there are some, like if you're in the CIC space, there are some really great ones. Like I've said before, you've got National Lottery Community Fund, which is probably the easiest one to get into. You've got Children in Need, you've got Comet Relief, you've got what's the other one? You've got Sports Council, is it the Sports Lottery, or it's a National Lottery but they have a sports fund. You've got the Heritage Fund, which is National Lottery again, but there's more to do with like history and heritage and culture and all that kind of stuff. You've got the Arts Council, who I just got rejected from the Arts Council for one of my projects, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail later in the video and explain why I'm happy that I got rejected. But yeah, Arts Council, you've got UNLTD, which is really good for people who are starting up their CIC, because they've got like a start-up fund and then another fund for people who are already going. I'm trying to think what other ones I know, but from like the bait ones where you're kind of getting over 10 grand and more, they're like the main ones for me. And if you do know about CIC, they're probably going to be like the first sort of ones that you come across. Then, upon doing research, I found a couple other ones. Found different websites that post different opportunities. So yeah, finding grant funders and funding for your specific project can be hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It can get long. It can be annoying because they all have different criteria. So, like the National Lottery ones and the ones that I said in the beginning, most of them you only have to have 2 unrelated directors, whereas there's another. There's a couple other funds where you have to have 3 unrelated directors, and it's just little stuff like that that can stop you from applying for that fund, or can make it harder, especially when you're starting out and you don't have the credentials, you don't have the accounts, you don't have anything really to show for why you want the money and what you want to do. Another just quick thing while I'm on this topic about finding the grants is that sometimes the criteria will be, oh, you've had to have been running for this year and you've had to make this much money or had this much money going through your accounts. Now, if you're in your first year, or even if you're in your second year but you're not operational yet, or a lot of the work you've been doing on a voluntary basis, like me, a lot of the work I was doing before I even set up the CSHEN project on Company's House was voluntary. So as much as I had work there, I didn't have any accounts coming in because it was just literally on a voluntary basis. So that is kind of a little bit of a struggle when doing some grants. So like I said before, just make sure you read the criteria and what they're actually asking for, and make sure that your idea and your actual business aligns with the grant funders and their eligibility. I also find grant funders. So once I knew the bait ones, I started going researching and I started looking for funding opportunities. And like I said, it is hard, it is a bit daunting, but it's worth it when you find some. But they're just a bit sporadic. Anyway, cool. So first thing I would do was I would type in funding for community interest companies for young people, or for ex-offenders, because my business helps both. So depends on what project I was doing, I would find the one that aligns with what I'm doing. I would also go to websites such as, let me actually find what the website's called. I think it's London. Hold on. London Community Foundation. I will leave this in the bio, in the description below. London Community Foundation has different grants across London, so different grants for different boroughs, and some of them are, you know, all boroughs, some of them will be just specific boroughs. So that's a really good one to find, like specific funding ones in your borough. ones that are closed, ones that are open. It's good to even see the closed ones because you can still keep them in mind for when you are, sorry, this fringe is like just doing my nutting, for when you are ready to, or when the fund reopens and you kind of have an idea. Cool. So the next thing I did was just literally typed in onto Google grants for South London or whatever, and see what comes up. Start looking through their criteria and yeah, seeing what you can find. And the last thing that I did was I signed up to as many, so the boroughs that I work in are Bromley, Croydon, Lambeth and Southwark, yeah, and Lewisham, sorry, those 5. My work is kind of spread across those, and I do a bit of work in Wandsworth as well, so my work is kind of spread across those boroughs. So then what I would do is I would go to said borough, so let's just go with Bromley. I'll go to Bromley borough, I will sign up to their sort of, every sort of borough that I work in and that I found have got some sort of community charity organisation that works alongside the council. So with Bromley, you've got Bromley Community Links. With Southwark, what's Southwark's one called? Community Southwark. Lambeth, one is called Integrate, I believe. Like, there's just loads of different, sorry, hay fever's getting me down. There's loads of different ones that you can sign up to, and they will send you updates, they will send you funding opportunities. Yeah, so they do a lot. So it will be really good for you guys to work out whatever boroughs that you're working in, work out exactly what their community sort of organisation is within that borough, sign up, get the monthly or weekly, I think even some of these send like 2 emails a week, but some of it is useful information, some of it doesn't apply and it is what it is, but some of it is very useful. That was one of the biggest ways I found extra grants. The first way I found extra grants, the most effective way of finding extra grants is literally just Googling and sifting through and looking and seeing what you can find. The second way is to sign up to community groups who are there to help other community groups, and they will send emails and funding opportunities. And then I have good people around me who know what I'm doing and will send me grants too, so that's another way. And it's kind of the reason why, pardon me, it's kind of the reason why I started Community Superheroes, because I think the work that we do as community interest companies is so integral and so important that I feel like the way I envision Community Superheroes is to have like a group of just so many different CICs that, you know, help the community, and then for us to be able to say, oh look guys, I found this funding, boom. Oh look guys, I found this opportunity, boom. Oh look guys, I'm holding a workshop, ticket to here, boom. And everyone could just put their details in, and then we can link up and we can have dinners and, you know, have some adult time off from being superheroes, and just, yeah, all come together and help each other and support each other. And yeah, so anyway, see what I mean about I digress if I don't follow script. Cool. So the last thing I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail. I'm not a pro at this part, so I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail from what I know, from me having a business mentor and getting advice from her as well. And yeah, this is not my speciality yet. Oh, this is not my speciality yet, but I'm working on it. It's about writing your grant proposal. Once you've got your idea, you've carefully read through the grant guidelines and you kind of know what project you want to put on, you then need to tailor your specific grant proposal to exactly what the funders want. So you then, in the guidelines where they put the criteria, you need to make sure you are specifically in your grant funding making sure that you're addressing each point. A really good thing that I was told was to always add statistics. I can't find specific ones online because there's been some grants where I've just not been able to find the statistic, and that's fine, but at least factor in a report. So there's been times where I factored in a report from, let's say, the Mayor of London, yeah, and he said, oh, this many young people, in my report, as much as I've not been able to say, oh yeah, Sadiq Khan said that 80% of young people are whatever, I can say Sadiq Khan said that in 2023 we had you know, a rise of youth, and this is why my project, like, you want to make sure that you're addressing the problems that they've put in their criteria in your grant funding, and make sure it's clear. You want to clearly explain your CIC's mission. So why is this project going to be good? Why is it going to help tackle the problem that the grant funder wants to tackle? You want to explain the program or the activities that you're seeking funding for, and how much you're putting. And the budget is such a big thing in the grant funding. The budget is huge, because before I ever did my first grant funding, I didn't realize you had to be so specific. You really have to plan out your projects before you even get to the application part, because you're just going to be stuck, literally. So for the grant stuff, for the budget stuff, sorry, yeah, you really have to work out where you're going to do the project, the materials, how much you're going to pay your staff, how long it's going to run. All of that kind of stuff has to be thought about before you even do your grant funding, because a lot of the time they want to see a breakdown. It doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to buy these pens for £1.49 and these colouring pencils for, no, it just has to be workshop material. But in order for you to get a correct sum, you do need to, in your own time, factor in, okay, pens, I need 100 pens and they're going to cost this much. I need felt tips, I need paper, I need this, I need that, I need scissors, I need glue, I need book, and put that all together in one sum, and then that's workshop materials or art materials. Do you know what I mean? So you do still have to go into detail with your grants, to just make sure that that's something that's on the top of your mind when you're going in to do your funding. Make sure you've got that budget on lock, yeah? The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're putting into your grant fund how it's going to be achieved, and what the outcomes you're expecting, what difference your project and your CIC is going to make on the, you know, the cohort of people that you're working with, and how you're going to evaluate. How you're going to evaluate is a big step. And it's not about, oh, I'm going to write this, I'm going to write this. What things are you going to be looking for? So how are you going to evaluate that your project is running smoothly? What are the risks that are involved? So I work with offenders and ex-offenders, so non-associates is a massive one. Gang-related stuff, massive one. Do you know what I mean? All of that risk assessment has to be put in. And again, you don't have to go into detail, but you want to put these, you do want to put, even if it's just a couple words, a line, whatever, just a little bit, so they know that you know what you're talking about and you got it covered, yeah? The only con that really annoys me, and really does annoy me a little bit about grant funds, and maybe it is because I just talk a lot and I need to learn how to simplify my vocabulary, but they limit the amount of characters or the amount of words that you can use in a lot of funds, meaning that, yeah, sometimes it's hard to get all the information in that you want, and then you have to prioritize, okay, what do I think it's about, what do I think, you know, more needs to be in it or not. So that is one thing that I would say is quite difficult. But other than that, all the fundings that I've put in for, the actual application has been pretty straightforward, and I have designed a project planning pack, which will be available soon. Basically takes you through the steps of planning your project before you have to actually write the application. So this is my project planner. It's very extensive, and it's got a lot in here, but honestly this will help you with your grant funding so much. It covers every single thing about, and not even just about your grant funding, about your planning. It will just help you with your project so much, yeah? So what it includes is the project concept and the project vision, the grant guidelines and requirements, the project scope and feasibility, your staff expertise and experience, target audience, collaborative partners, marketing and promotion, project excellence, public engagement and impact, community involvement, risk management, accessibility and inclusivity, policies and procedures, budget and funding breakdown, timeline and milestones, project management, closure and evaluation, and then a checklist at the end to make sure that you have gone through everything. So when I'm telling you, I spent so much time on this, right, let's try and balance this sometime. I spent so much time on this. It is extensive, there is a lot to fill up, but honestly, if you spend some time doing this, before you actually do your idea, I took my sweet time on this, and it's everything that you would need to make sure you've got your project down to a T, to the fact where anyone can ask you any question and it's thought about, you know the answer because you've had to go through this workbook. So personally, I definitely would recommend our project planner. It will be available as soon as it is available. Hopefully by the time this video is out, it will probably be available. Because it's ready, I just now need to put it on Amazon and my website, which is not done yet. So a couple steps for me to do, but hopefully by the time this video is out, it is out, and I will leave the links to it in the description so you can get your hands on one. So I'm just going to give you 3 really quick tips to always think about when it comes to your grant funding. Yeah, so tips for success. So I would start your grant planning, your grant project planning as soon as possible. Like I said, it takes a long time for them to even get to the point where they are making a decision. Normally takes about 3 months, and then before that you've actually got to spend time putting the grant in. So what I would personally say is, whether you get my project planning workbook or not, it would be the best idea is to have the project planned out to an absolute T before you go to do your grant funding actual application. That way, like I said, when you're answering the questions, you've got all the information in one place, you can just drag it out and boom, 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 boom. And like I said, it doesn't have to be with my project planner. You can literally get a notebook and write out the important stuff that you need yourself and plan out your project however it works for you. Me, I'm just that type of person. I like having things in a workbook. It just makes it look nicer and it makes me more likely to complete it. It's just who I am. Do you know what I mean? Self-awareness is definitely key. Start your grant funding project planning and application as early as possible so you can get that money in, and then you have time to actually start your project, and you don't have to be yeah, because all projects, most of them apart from National Lottery and some other ones are rolling projects, but some of the ones that I found have a deadline, and you don't want to wait until the day before the deadline to get that in, because that is a lot of stress. You want to have it in and know that even if you don't submit it until the day before, it's all written and it's saved, and you can come back and you can add things and take things away and make sure it's perfect. But you've given yourself time beforehand to make sure that you have enough time to get it in and it be up to a good standard and you're happy with it. That is tip number 1. Tip number 2, when you're writing your grant funding applications, please make sure you're highlighting your company or your community interest company's impact. That is major. Or previous impact of different, maybe similar projects or different projects but same cohort of people, and you want to put in the impact that you feel like the actual project itself is going to have. Grant funders love to hear about impact. Everything that they do is, you know, to make sure that you are giving the group of people that they're funding the project for a good impact. So you need to have your impact and reasons why and everything like that sorted out to a T. And that is going to be like a big, I would say, game changer in application 1 and application 2. And the last thing, oh my gosh guys, this one is so real, and as a dyslexic person who hates writing, doing any sort of admin thing, I have even had to take this seriously. So if I'm telling you I've got to take it seriously, you know what's up. Yeah, you need to make sure you proofread your applications. Yeah, proofread. Get someone else to proofread if you don't want to do it, but proofread. Make sure that you've answered every question correctly. Make sure you've understood the question. Make sure you've included everything that they want. So in like a question, they might have the question in bold, and then underneath in like smaller writing, a little bit about the question, things that you should include. Make sure you're using those sort of tips and stuff in your grant funding. That's going to be a key. Typos, errors, not being grammatically correct, all of that can really remember first impressions, guys. Yeah, first impressions is everything, and you just want to have, like I said, the best first impression. They don't know you, they don't know their business, they're literally judging you off this application. So this application needs to be so up to scratch and so like thought out and planned, and just that they have no reason but to be like, you know what, this girl or this boy has thought this out so well, how can we say no? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how you have to think, because these people don't know you, they're not watching what you're doing, they're not coming to your project. So you have to make sure you can verbalize everything that you are actually doing and everything that you plan to do. Yeah, that is my 3 tips for grant funding. So guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video about grant funding. I hope it gave you some tips. Remember, I'm still early in this game myself. I have a business mentor as well, and that is what I aspire to be. In the next couple of years, I would love to be a business mentor and help people actually do their grant fund writing, their grant funding applications. I'd love to be a business mentor. Yeah, so that's what I'm working towards. But until then, we've got community superheroes, which I'm putting my heart and soul into. I've got my social enterprise, and I've still got my limited company, so I've got a lot going on. I'd love to be a business mentor in the future. I still offer a couple services now that can help you. So I help people actually set up their CIC on Companies House and do all that kind of stuff. And I also help with project development. But what I don't do is actually help write in the grant funds, because I just feel like I would lack a little bit more experience in that forte before I start taking people's money and telling them, oh yeah, I'm gonna guarantee getting your grant, and I'm not even there myself yet. Yeah, so we're working on it. But I hope this video and these tips helped. And yeah, if you have any questions, anything you would like me to answer, if I can answer it, you know I got you. Put them in the description bar, put them in the comments down below, and I'll get back to you. Also, make sure you follow our social media, our TikTok, our Instagram. Make sure you like, follow and subscribe our YouTube channel. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.